The unexpected cargo. Captain Vrex's crystalline antennae twitched with unease as he watched the stasis pod being loaded onto his ship. The Stellar Wind was a simple cargo vessel, meant for grain and industrial supplies, not whatever, or whoever, was sealed inside that frosted chamber. 2 humans in pristine white uniforms had arrived at dawn, offering triple the standard rate for a quick transport job to the Centauri outpost. "Everything is in order, Captain," the taller human had said, sliding over a datapad with the transfer documentation. "The subject will remain in deep stasis for the duration of your journey. Simply maintain the pod's power supply, and you'll have no issues." Now, 3 hours into their voyage, Vrex stood on the bridge, mandibles clicking together in agitation as he reviewed their flight path. First Officer Nix approached, her scaled hands dancing over the navigation console. "Captain, I've been monitoring the pod's telemetry," Nix said, her voice low and concerned. "There are irregularities in the power consumption patterns." Vrex's antennae stiffened. "Define irregularities." Before Nix could respond, a shrill alarm pierced the bridge's quiet hum. Red warning lights bathed the command center in an ominous glow as the ship's computer announced, "Warning, stasis pod power fluctuation detected. Containment integrity at 64% and falling." By the crystal hive, Vrex swore, activating the cargo bay cameras. The feed showed the pod, its surface now covered in a spider web of frost fractures. The temperature readings were climbing rapidly. "We need to get down there," Nick said, already moving toward the bridge exit. The human said the subject needs to remain in stasis. "If the pod fails..." A thunderous crack echoed through the ship's hull, followed by the distinct sound of metal shearing. The cargo bay camera feed went dark. "Nix, seal all bulkheads between the cargo bay and critical systems," Vrex ordered, retrieving an emergency toolkit from beneath his command chair. "And get me everything we have on human physiology. Whoever's in that pod, they're about to wake up in a very confused state." The 2 Zyraxians made their way down to the cargo level, their crystalline exoskeletons reflecting the emergency lights. As they approached the cargo bay doors, they heard something that made their blood run cold: laughter. Not the warm, friendly kind they'd occasionally heard from human traders, but something wild and predatory. "Captain," Nix whispered, checking the atmospheric readings on her wrist device, "the pod's occupant, they're fully conscious. But these vital signs, they're off the charts for normal human parameters." Vrex accessed the cargo bay's secondary camera feed, still operational from a different angle. Through the grainy footage, they watched a figure moving with impossible speed, examining the bay's layout with military precision. The human was female, tall and athletic, wearing what appeared to be some kind of modified combat suit. Her movements were too fluid, too calculated for someone who had just emerged from stasis. This was no ordinary prisoner transport, Vrex realized, his antennae flattening against his skull. "We're carrying something far more dangerous than we were led to believe." The laughter came again, closer this time, followed by the distinct sound of someone moving through the ventilation system. Nix's scales shifted color in anxiety, involuntary response that reflected the fear they both felt. "Captain," she said, bringing up the ship specifications on her tablet, "there are 17 access points from the cargo bay ventilation system to the rest of the ship. If she gets into the main circulation, then we've got less than 60 minutes before she could be anywhere," Vrex finished. "And something tells me our guest isn't interested in a friendly chat about her destination." The ventilation shaft above them creaked ominously. Both aliens looked up just in time to see a pair of startlingly alert eyes peering through the grate, gleaming with an unnatural golden luminescence. The human's voice, when it came, was surprisingly calm and articulate. "I'll make this simple," she said, her words carrying an authority that made Vrex's crystalline form resonate with ancient instinctual fear. "My name is Lieutenant Reina Torres. Your ship has been involved in something very ugly, very illegal, and very dangerous. You have 2 choices: help me complete my mission, or I dismantle this vessel piece by piece until I get what I need." Vrex and Nyx exchanged glances. Their quiet cargo run had just become something far more complicated, and they had a feeling their mysterious human cargo was just the beginning of their problems. Hunter and hunted. The stellar wind's maintenance tunnels echoed with the sound of boots on metal as Lieutenant Torres moved with practiced efficiency through the ship's infrastructure. Her enhanced vision, courtesy of the experimental augmentations she'd been volunteered for, allowed her to navigate the darkness with ease. Behind her, she could hear the crystalline aliens attempting to track her movements. Amateurs. Your ship's quantum beacon is still broadcasting, she called out, her voice carrying through the ventilation system. You might want to disable that before the cleanup crew arrives. They're not as friendly as I am. In the ship's control room, Captain Vrex's antennae twitched as he processed this information. First Officer Nyx was already checking their communications array, her scaled fingers flying over the controls. She's right, Nyx reported, her voice tight with concern. There's a coded signal being transmitted on a frequency I've never seen before. It's not part of our standard systems. Vrex cursed in his native tongue. They used us. Whoever those humans were, they planted a tracker on my ship. His crystalline form shifted colors in anger, taking on a deep crimson hue. Nyx, begin emergency shutdown procedures for all non-essential systems. If there's any other surprises hidden in our hardware, I want them found. A crash from below deck interrupted their discussion. The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated momentarily as something heavy impacted the engineering section. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Hull integrity at 97%, the ship's computer announced. Minor structural damage detected in Section 4B. She's testing our defenses, Vrex realized. Methodically working her way through the ship's vulnerabilities. He activated the internal communication system. Lieutenant Torres, this is Captain Vrex. Whatever you think we're involved in, I assure you we're merely transporters. We had no knowledge. Save it, Captain, Torres' voice cut through the speaker, surprisingly clear despite her location in the ship's infrastructure. I've seen the manifest codes on your cargo. They match a series of black site transports that have been moving human test subjects across regulated space for months. Your ship is either complicit, or you're the most oblivious captain in the sector. Nyx's scales shifted to a pale blue of fear. Captain, she's accessing our cargo records. How is she interfacing with our systems? Neural augments, Torres answered through the comm, another gift from the people who hired you. They've been experimenting with human-machine integration. I'm their latest prototype, and their biggest mistake. The lights throughout the ship suddenly dimmed as Torres began systematically shutting down power to different sections. Vrex watched helplessly as system after system went dark. They were being hunted on their own ship. Nyx, Vrex said quietly, initiate protocol emergence. Full system purge and restart. If she's plugged into our network. A laugh echoed through the ship. Too late, Captain. I'm already inside your mainframe. But don't worry, I'm not here to destroy your ship. I just need access to your navigation records. The facility these transports lead to. It's holding more people like me. And I'm going to shut it down. Vrex's antennae drooped as he realized the gravity of their situation. His ship had been unwittingly participating in something monstrous. But before he could respond, a new alarm blared through the control room. Multiple vessels detected, the computer announced. Approaching on intercept trajectory. Energy signatures match known military configurations. Right on schedule, Torres muttered. The sound of her movement through the ship's infrastructure had stopped. She was staying perfectly still, listening. Captain, those ships aren't here to help you. They're here to clean up loose ends. All of them. Nyx's scales shifted rapidly through colors of fear and confusion. Captain, the approaching vessels, they're charging weapons. The first impact rocked the stellar wind, sending both aliens stumbling. Through the viewport, they could see 3 sleek black ships taking up attack positions around them. Their designs were unlike anything in known space, purpose-built predators with only one mission. Last chance, Captain, Torres' voice was deadly serious now. You can help me expose what's really happening out here, or we can all die as loose ends in someone else's conspiracy. Your choice. But make it fast, those ships aren't known for their patience. Vrex looked at his first officer, then at the approaching vessels that threatened everything he'd built. Sometimes survival meant choosing the lesser of two evils. He just hoped he was making the right choice. Lieutenant Torres, he said firmly, I believe it's time we had a proper conversation about exactly what my ship has been carrying. The truth emerges. The Stellar Winds conference room was dimly lit by emergency power as Lieutenant Torres emerged from a maintenance hatch, her movements precise and controlled. Captain Vrex noticed how her eyes seemed to process everything at once, marking exits, calculating distances, evaluating threats. Her modified combat suit bore scorch marks from the stasis pod's malfunction, but she moved as if completely unaffected by her ordeal. 3 minutes until they're in weapons range, she said, pulling up ship schematics on the room's holographic display. Her neural augments interfaced seamlessly with the ship's systems, making the images dance and flow with her thoughts. The black ships belong to an organization called Chimera. They're a private military corporation that's been conducting illegal human enhancement experiments across regulated space. Nix's scales shifted to a deep purple of disgust as Torres brought up classified documents and transport logs. These manifests, they're all coded as agricultural supplies, but the power requirements, the security protocols. All human test subjects, Torres confirmed, her golden eyes flickering with controlled rage. Some volunteers, most not. They're trying to create the perfect soldier by combining human adaptability with advanced biotechnology. Neural interfaces, enhanced muscle density, accelerated healing. She gestured to herself. I'm what they consider a successful prototype. The ship shuddered as another warning shot from the pursuing vessels passed close to their hull. Vrex's crystalline form resonated with the impact. How many others? Dozens of facilities, hundreds of subjects. Torres' fingers danced through the holographic data. Most don't survive the procedures. Those who do are either broken or become willing weapons. I was different. The augmentations enhanced my natural abilities without compromising my sense of self. When I discovered what they were doing to the others. She paused, her enhanced eyes focusing on something distant. Let's just say I decided to tender my resignation. And now they want to silence all witnesses, Nix concluded, her scales paling. Including us. Incoming transmission, the ship's computer announced. The holographic display flickered, and a new figure appeared. The human wore an immaculate white uniform, his smile cold and professional. Director Walsh, Torres said, her voice carrying an edge that made both aliens' natural armor tighten instinctively. Lieutenant Torres, Walsh replied smoothly. And Captain Vrex. I see our asset has made contact. I apologize for the deception, Captain, but surely you understand the need for discretion in matters of scientific advancement. Vrex's antennae flattened against his skull. You used my ship to transport kidnapped test subjects. We used your ship to transport valuable research materials, Walsh corrected. Materials that are worth significantly more than your vessel or crew. Now, I'm authorized to offer you triple your current payment to deliver Lieutenant Torres to the nearest Chimera facility. She's a crucial part of our ongoing research. Torres laughed, but there was no humor in it. Tell them what happens to your research subjects, Walsh. Tell them about the neural burns, the failed integrations, the disposal protocols for unsuccessful candidates. Walsh's smile didn't waver. Progress requires sacrifice, Lieutenant. You of all people should understand that. Your enhanced abilities, your perfect integration with our technology, your proof that our methods work. I'm proof that you're monsters, Torres countered, her augmented eyes glowing brighter with anger. Captain, your ship's logs contain coordinate data for every transport run you've made for Chimera. With that evidence, we can expose their entire operation. 2 minutes to weapons range, the computer announced dispassionately. Walsh's expression hardened. Captain Vrex, this is your final opportunity to cooperate. Lieutenant Torres is dangerous, unstable. The augmentations have affected her judgment. Surrender her to us, or we will be forced to consider your vessel a hostile target. Vrex looked between the cold efficiency of Walsh and the controlled fury of Torres. His ship had been used to facilitate atrocities, unknowingly or not. The weight of those actions pressed against his crystalline form like physical pressure. Director Walsh, he said finally, his alien features unreadable. I believe I have something to show you. He nodded to Torres, who smiled grimly and interfaced with the ship's systems. Across regulated space, on every emergency channel and commercial frequency available, the stellar wind began broadcasting its cargo logs, transport records, and the full documentation of Chimera's illegal experiments. Torres' neural augments cut through every attempt to block the transmission, spreading the truth like a virus through the galaxy's communication networks. Walsh's holographic image flickered as he received confirmation of the broadcast. For the first time, his professional facade cracked. You have no idea what you've done. 1 minute to weapons range, the computer reminded them. Torres turned to Vrex and Nyx, her enhanced eyes already plotting escape trajectories. I hope you're both good at evasive maneuvers. Because things are about to get very interesting. Alliances forged in fire. The stellar wind lurched violently as the first real shot from Chimera's pursuit ships struck their aft shields. Captain Vrex's crystalline form vibrated with the impact as he threw himself into the command chair, his hands dancing across the controls with practiced precision. Shields at 68%. Nyx called out, her scales flickering between colors of fear and determination. Their weapons are specifically calibrated to disrupt our defense systems. Torres interfaced directly with the ship's computer, her neural augments allowing her to process combat data faster than any natural human could. They're using quantum-locked targeting arrays. Standard evasive patterns won't work. Her eyes flickered with streams of data. But I can help level the playing field. How? Vrex demanded, executing a desperate roll to avoid another barrage. Those ships? Torres smiled grimly. I helped design their operating systems. And they never bothered to patch the backdoors I left behind. Her hands moved in precise patterns as she accessed the pursuit ship's networks through her neural interface. Captain, when I give the word, I need you to cut all power to engines and shields. Nyx's scales shifted to alarm red. That's suicide. Trust me, Torres said, her enhanced eyes glowing with increased intensity as she worked. Their targeting systems are calibrated to predict standard ship movements and power signatures. Sometimes the best defense is to look like you're already dead. Another hit rocked the ship. Shields at 43%, the computer announced calmly. Through the view screen, they could see the 3 black ships moving into a triangle formation, preparing to box them in. Director Walsh's voice crackled over the comm system, this is your final warning. Your transmission has already been contained. Surrender now, and we may still show mercy. Torres' laugh was cold. He's lying. The data is spreading faster than they can suppress it. I can see the emergency channels lighting up across 3 sectors. She turned to Vrex. Ready for something crazy, Captain? Vrex's antennae twitched. Will it save my ship? If it works. Definitely. If it doesn't. She shrugged. We'll be too dead to care. Another blast rocked the ship. Shields at 29%, the computer updated. Do it, Vrex commanded, his crystalline form setting into battle-ready angles. Torres' augmented eyes flared. Now. Vrex slammed the emergency shutdown control. The stellar wind went dark, its engines dying, shields dropping, every system falling silent. They began to drift, looking for all purposes like a dead ship. 3 pursuit vessels locking weapons, the computer whispered on minimal power. Wait for it, Torres murmured, her neural interface pushing her augments to their limits as she worked through the pursuit ship systems. Almost there. The black ships moved in for the kill, their weapons charging for a final volley. Then Torres smiled. Got you. Suddenly, the pursuit ship's formation broke apart as their systems went haywire. Their own targeting arrays turned inward, shields fluctuating wildly as Torres' hidden protocols activated. Now, Captain, she shouted. Full power to engines, maximum thrust. Vrex slammed the ship back to life. The stellar wind's engines roared as they shot through the gap in the enemy formation. Behind them, the pursuit ships struggled to regain control of their systems, firing blindly into space. That won't hold them for long, Torres warned, sweat beading on her forehead from the strain of maintaining the cyber assault. The back doors are already being closed. We need a new plan. Nixa's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue as she studied the NAV charts. There's a debris field from an old mining operation about 6 minutes at maximum thrust. If we can make it there. The interference would blind their targeting systems, Vrex finished. But navigating at speed through that much debris. I can help with that, Torres offered, interfacing with the ship's sensors. My augments can process the debris patterns fast enough to plot a safe course. But you'll have to trust my directions completely. Another explosion lit up space behind them as one of the pursuit ships regained enough control to fire. The shot went wide, but the message was clear, their reprieve was ending. Vrex's crystalline form hardened with resolve. Lieutenant Torres, I've already trusted you with broadcasting evidence that will likely end my shipping business. I suppose I might as well trust you with my ship as well. Pursuit ships regaining full systems control, the computer announced. Enemy weapons charging. Better make it count then, Torres said, her augmented eyes already mapping the debris field ahead. Because we're about to find out if a cargo ship can dance. Race against time. The debris field loomed before them like a graveyard of broken dreams, twisted metal, shattered asteroids, and the remnants of abandoned mining operations spinning silently in the void. The stellar wind threaded through the chaos, its hull groaning as Torres and Vrex pushed it far beyond its designed capabilities. 30 degrees port, Torres called out, her augmented vision processing the shifting patterns of debris. Hard roll to starboard in 3, 2, 1. The cargo ship spun on its axis, barely avoiding a massive chunk of what had once been a mining platform. Behind them, one of the pursuit ships wasn't so lucky. Its sleeker hull, designed for speed rather than durability, crumpled against the debris with a silent explosion that lit up the field like a newborn star. 2 down, 2 to go, Nix reported, her scales shifting through patterns of excitement and fear as she monitored their pursuers. Don't celebrate yet, Torres warned, her enhanced eyes glowing brighter as she pushed her augments to their limits. Walsh is on the lead ship, and he's not going to give up easily. These people don't leave witnesses. As if to prove her point, a barrage of weapons fire cut through the debris field, carving paths of destruction that threatened to box them in. The remaining pursuit ships were using their superior firepower to reshape the battlefield itself. They're hurting us, Vrex realized, his crystalline form resonating with tension. Trying to force us into a killing zone. Torres nodded grimly. Standard Chimera tactics. They're willing to destroy everything to maintain their secrets. She interfaced deeper with the ship's systems, pushing through the pain of neural feedback. Captain, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. At this point, Lieutenant, Vrex said, executing another desperate maneuver, I'm open to suggestions. Your cargo holds, Torres said, her fingers dancing through holographic displays. They're lined with quantum shielding to prevent scanning of sensitive materials, right? The same technology Chimera uses in their facilities. Nyx's scales shifted to understanding. We could overload the shielding, create a massive burst of quantum interference. And blind their targeting systems long enough to escape, Torres finished. But it would also mean destroying my ship, Vrex said quietly. The stellar wind shuddered as another near-miss sent debris pinging off their hull. Not destroying, Torres corrected. But every cargo hold would be permanently corrupted. You'd never be able to transport sensitive materials again. Your shipping business was already over the moment we broadcast those files, Vrex finished. His antennae twitched as he came to a decision. Better to end it on our terms. Nyx, begin power transfer to the cargo hold shielding. Walsh is hailing us again, Nyx reported, her scales flickering with anxiety. Put him through, Torres said, her augmented eyes burning with determination. He should see this coming. Walsh's holographic image appeared, his previous corporate calm replaced by cold fury. This ends now, Lieutenant. You've damaged a multi-billion credit operation, but Chimera will recover. We always do. Surrender, and we'll ensure your friends' deaths are quick. Torres smiled, and for the first time, there was genuine amusement in it. You know what your biggest mistake was, Walsh? Not the illegal experiments. Not the kidnapping. Not even the attempts to create superhuman soldiers. She gestured to herself. Your biggest mistake was giving someone like me the power to fight back. Captain, now. Vrex slammed the override command. Throughout the stellar wind, the quantum shielding in every cargo hold began to overload. The ship's interior lit up like a miniature sun as the quantum field collapsed in on itself. All hands, brace for impact. Nyx shouted. The quantum burst exploded outward in a wave of invisible force. The pursuing ship sensors went completely dark, their targeting systems overwhelmed by the massive surge of quantum interference. In that moment of blindness, Torres executed their final gambit. Plotting emergency jump coordinates, she announced, her neural augments pushing through the interference. The quantum burst disrupted their interdiction field. We've got one shot at this. Jump drive at critical levels, the computer warned. Probability of successful jump, 63%. Better odds than we've had all day, Vrex said, his crystalline form set with determination. Lieutenant Torres, get us out of here. The stellar wind's jump drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing itself apart. For a moment, the ship seemed to exist in multiple places at once, caught between normal space and somewhere else. Then, with a final surge of power, they punched through. They emerged near a bustling space station in neutral territory, the pursuit ships left far behind in the debris field. The stellar wind's cargo holds were ruined, its systems strained to breaking point, but they were alive. Multiple broadcasters picking up our transmission, Nyx reported, her scales shifting to colors of victory. The evidence is spreading across every major network. Chimera, they can't stop it now. Torres nodded, finally allowing herself to relax slightly. There will be investigations, committees, sanctions. The facilities will be found, the test subjects freed. It won't bring back those who died, but... She turned to Vrex. Thank you, Captain. I know what this cost you. Vrex's crystalline form shifted, catching the light in patterns that suggested something like pride. My ship was used to transport people to their deaths. Today, we used it to save lives instead. I consider that a fair trade. He turned to Torres. Although, I find myself in need of a new business venture. Perhaps something involving the transport of less questionable cargo. Actually, Torres said, her augmented eyes twinkling, I might have a proposition for you. There are more organizations like Chimera out there, more secrets that need to be exposed. She gestured to the ship around them. And I could use a crew I trust. Vrex looked at Nyx, who nodded eagerly, her scales shifting to colors of excitement. The captain's antennae twitched with amusement. Well, Lieutenant Torres, I believe this could be the beginning of a very interesting partnership. As the stellar wind limped toward the station for repairs, its ruined cargo holds a small price for the lives they'd saved. Torres allowed herself a genuine smile. She had been created to be a weapon, but instead, she had become something else entirely, a force for justice in a galaxy that desperately needed it.